wear it with pride. We wear it because it stands for justice, honor, protecting those in need. We've been keeping communities safe since 1873.
Every single member of the RCMP has come through these doors.
Get control of your fear.
I can't breathe.
Get control of what stresses you.
Please go to ground, now!
We can stand shoulder to shoulder with any organization across the world.
Sick stomach, 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 stomach.
That is not what we want to do.
My son's going to depot on December 9th. I'll be looking forward to present him with his badge.
Yeah, we're not just hemming pants here, we're dressing mountains.
All over Canada, members of the RCMP are committed to preserving the peace. They're posted to detachments across the country, serving communities in rural, urban, and northern settings. Their duties range from frontline policing to international peacekeeping and counter-terrorism. Their extreme scope of service is immeasurable, and each modern-day member has one thing in common. They all started at Depot.
Depot is the actual home of the RCMP, and it's a very interesting place. It's a place where members of the force really get grounded. It's where we all start our careers. The history is there, the roots are there, and that's what we're all about.
It's been more than 125 years since Depot Division first started its police training in Regina, Saskatchewan. In that time, over 60,000 cadets have gone through the program.
Nunez, in what year did we become the Royal Canadian Mounted Police?
1920.
Really? That's what you're going to give me? That's as loud as you can be.
1920.
My goodness. Heaven forbid the day you have to yell at someone, "Stop, police, drop the knife!" because they're coming at you with an edged weapon. There's no whispering. There's no room for meek and mild in this job.
Count it up! Let's march! Please! Stand down! Commanders!
These cadets are training to become members of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Stand at hey!
More commonly known as the Mounties. But before they don the iconic scarlet tunic, known as the Red Surge, all cadets have to graduate from the RCMP's 26-week training program, which combines intense tactical training with customs and traditions
To the Queen! To the Queen!
that are steeped in Canadian history. Every year, about 1,000 cadets graduate from the academy before joining the 20,000 RCMP officers serving across the country. On a bitterly cold week in December, we spent 5 days at the academy, where we saw different troops at various stages of the 26-week training program. On day one, a new troop is welcomed by the Academy's commanding officer.
Everybody wants you to be successful. We're incredibly happy that you're finally sitting in these seats as members of Troop 29, and we want you to be successful, but we're not going to do it for you. You have to do it for yourselves.
The application process, which includes a polygraph test, can take about 8 months.
Everybody took a year out of your life to finally get here. We sometimes see cadets go home after 24 hours. It takes probably a couple of weeks to get used to the routine, so give it at least a couple of weeks. Work hard, have some fun, and good luck. Are we a kinder police organization? That is a comment that we actually verbally say out loud now. We're in the service industry. We're out there to serve the Canadian public. So if we create that type of environment, we're hopeful that the cadets will remember that, and when they are out in their various communities, that they will continue to work with the communities as they were trained.
Training happens here at RCMP Academy Depot Division, located in Regina, Saskatchewan, about 100 miles north of the U.S. border. It's a region of Canada known as the Prairie, where during our visit to Regina, sustained winds combined with the low temperature made it consistently feel about negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Applicants must be at least 19 years old and willing to relocate anywhere in Canada, including remote provinces like Yukon and Nunavut. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, as we know it today, was founded in 1920.
The Canadian Rockies, the legendary Mounties, are the symbol of law and order in this vast domain.
Although they're called Mounties, the RCMP isn't a mounted police force, and horses are only used for ceremonial events.
Here come the Mounties to get the men that are coming on.
We're not what you see in the movies from Hollywood. People see the red jackets, pointy hats on black horses, and they think that's what the RCMP is. But we're police officers first and foremost, and I think that's probably the biggest misconception. The reality is policing back roads in small towns by yourself. We are a police force. That's the biggest message.
And it all starts here at Depot.
I need you to stand up. You're under arrest for assault with a weapon.
Where most of the training is focused on mastering police procedure, practiced in realistic scenarios. Where cadets play the roles of both the officer and the suspect.
Anything that you do say to me can be used as evidence. Do you understand?
Yeah, I just want you to know I messed up. I didn't mean to. I'm not that type of person.
Okay, good to know.
Did I get a 1028, 1029 pros on a Saskatchewan marker when ready?
10-4, go ahead.
We're trying to prepare them for the realities of policing.
Do you have anything on you that could hurt me or you?
Policing isn't an easy profession. We make the programs such that they will be physically and mentally prepared. But they also have to have common sense, they have to know their powers of arrest, they have to know the law. So it's a real combination of two things that need to happen all at once.
Male and female cadets train together at Depot and even face each other in Police Defensive Tactics Training, or PDT.
Obviously, in policing, we don't choose our opponent. We're not going to be always be matched with a normal size like you would see in a sport of boxing or MMA. Most of our cadets come here without any backgrounds at all. Some of them have never been involved in a fight, so it's very difficult for them to understand how to deal with a situation like that.
Cadets are faced with additional disadvantages. Sometimes they're only allowed to use one hand, or they're only allowed to use leg strikes. Another exercise requires one combatant to spin around in circles before the fight begins.
If you get into a fight with an opponent out there in the street, it could happen that you get hit in the head, and that can create like some kind of dizziness, a little bit of a concussion type of scenario. We want to make sure that they have this kind of understanding without putting them into a concussion, obviously, because we don't want them to be hurting themselves.
But with punches flying, minor injuries do occur.
Sometimes some things like that happen. We try to mitigate that as much as we can, so it's almost a good thing that he can feel that, so then if it happens in the field, he knows how to deal with it.
Yeah, that's fine. It's okay. Put your hands up, okay? Yeah, my hands are up. My hands are up.
In this scenario,
You're under arrest. Get down on the floor.
cadets attempt to subdue an aggressive assailant and apply handcuffs, but it's not easy. To make the scenario more challenging, cadets are matched up with assailants who are bigger and stronger than they are,
Trying to take his arm down.
whose objective is to try and grab the gun and baton from the cadet's duty belt.
The reason that we do this is basically to allow the police officer to reassess the totality of that situation. And now that jeopardy has raised for the police officer, they should be able to reassess that situation.
I got his legs.
Communication is the big key here. They want to communicate with their partner and then come up with a new plan based on their risk assessment, which is always evolving.
Nobody dies at depot. This is the place to make mistakes, because when police officers make mistakes, people get hurt. Some of the stuff they see and will see is not nice, and we need to help prepare them for that physically and mentally.
Being exposed to pepper spray is a common part of law enforcement training, and it's no different in the RCMP.
We want them to get an appreciation for using pepper spray, so they understand essentially that it's painful, and so they understand that it works, it's effective, and that they can fight through it if they are exposed to OC spray themselves. They do 50 jumping jacks, so we just want to get their heart rate up just to simulate as if they were in some sort of a physical altercation perhaps. They then go into the actual chamber where it's been contaminated with pepper spray. You've already gone 1019, I said just make the arrest. And then they have to make an arrest on the subject inside that chamber, keeping their eyes open, being aware of their surroundings, and fighting through that painful experience.
But at depot, cadets take it to another level.
You don't sound good. Come over here.
After being exposed, cadets exit the facility and perform an arrest in the freezing cold.
Would you like to speak to a lawyer when we get back to the office?
They probably barely notice the cold when they're out there immediately after the exposure. It's only once that the effects have worn off that they realize it's actually cold outside. It actually will help somewhat with numbing that pain of the pepper spray once they get back into a warmer environment.
Good. Just had to adjust the volume. Is everybody able to hear me over there? Lane 1, can you hear me okay? You guys can hear me okay? Okay, because the things that I say are so important.
Cadets fire between 800 and 900 rounds during their 65 hours of training on the firing range.
Probably 15–20% of the cadets that show up have some sort of firearms experience, whether that's pistol, shotgun, rifle, or hunting. We're able to take someone with absolutely no pistol or firearms experience and make them quite good shooters and successful through the program. So week 2, they're actually issued their service pistol, Smith & Wesson 5946. That is their pistol, and it will follow them through their career until they so retire or move on to something else. Firearms is a very important skill set to have, and if the day ever comes that you actually need to rely on your pistol to protect a human life, it's going to be a situation where we hope that you're proficient and you're prepared for that day when it does come.
I was here yesterday. I'm trying to make a living. Drop the knife, sir! You're always jacking me up!
Okay, we're gonna pause this scenario.
Cadets interact with a video in which role players create a scenario that tests judgment.
Sir, can I see your hands? I told you already.
And how to de-escalate a threatening situation. The judgment simulation room is also equipped with what's known as a shoot-back cannon, which fires projectiles at cadets.
We can basically give them a little shot with the shoot-back cannon, and it will remind them to go use cover. So it only needs once or twice, and then they quickly get behind cover.
Policing the physical demands are unpredictable, and it's difficult to do your job well or safely if you are unfit.
Cadets are also timed in scenario-specific training like this exercise, where the objective is to load up a truck bed with various life-saving supplies. Each item weighs about 50 pounds, and the goal is to safely load the truck in less than 2 minutes.
Time. 202.9.
Training moves outside when cadets work with a dog handler.
This is Bailey. She was my partner as a police dog. I spent 7 years on the road with her as a police dog, and we were partners. She goes on what are called uniform runs. It's supposed to simulate running with a dog handler, pursuing a suspect, or looking for a lost person.
Come on, let's go!
We end up going over a lot of fences when we're chasing bad guys. It's just the nature of how our work is.
Where's the marrow?
The cadets use it as a bit of a learning tool to show them how to be around the dog and what the dog looks like when it's actually out working.
What a tremendous opportunity. A turning point for this troop.
Cadets have to pass a rigorous inspection of their barracks, known in the RCMP as pits. Cadets lay out all components of their duty belt on their beds and stand by while an officer inspects all of their clothing and personal belongings.
Look what you have done. A cow sacrificed their life for your belt. Look what you've done to it. How they do present their pits and lay out their pits is an extension of themselves, and it does translate to other areas across the cadet training program.
What sets the RCMP apart is its uncompromising attention to detail. Which is on full display in the drill hall, where cadets spend hours practicing marching, maneuvers, and customs.
Shout it out! It's an extremely valuable component of training here because it teaches cadets that sense of discipline, self-control, and composure.
It's about conditioning the mind. Simple commands, you respond. You see the threat, you respond. Even though it looks very ceremonial in nature, it's all connected back to doing policing.
The bottom of the flap, all the way down here. Lower it, the bottom here. That's where it should be. Why are those things important in our uniform?
Public perception of us.
What happens if we have poor public perception?
Lack of faith.
It's not about buttons and zippers, and it's not about marching. Everything has a connection back to policing. Attention to detail in your uniform translates to looking for what's missing, looking for what might be evidence when you get out into the field.
Drill practice culminates in a ceremony known as the Sergeant Major's Parade. Although the Mounties are known for their iconic scarlet tunic, this is the uniform you'll actually see a modern Mountie wearing on duty. But the red serge remains a defining characteristic of the RCMP, used as the formal attire for ceremonial events. The week before graduation, cadets attend what's known as the regimental dinner, held in the officers' mess. It's a tradition that, according to the RCMP, media has not been allowed to attend before now.
It exposes them to the importance of our history. We adhere to some very old traditions that we've inherited from the British Army and the Canadian Army that we've made our own.
To the Queen!
To the Queen!
One seat at the table is left unoccupied to honor the memory of the more than 240 RCMP officers who have died in the line of duty.
It's really a culmination of that family piece that we talk about right from the beginning, that building of that esprit de corps, sitting there together as the corps, celebrating the organization that they're just about to join.
Before they graduate, cadets take part in the oath ceremony. This troop took their oaths in French. After taking the oaths, the cadets remove the epaulets from their uniforms, signifying that they're no longer cadets.
They become members of the Mounted Police. They grow 2 inches and they look so proud. And their families and their friends, when they see them, are so proud of what they've achieved. Canadians trust the RCMP and have for a very long time. It's fragile, and we have to make sure that we maintain that.